We competing with TDE, were the words of the 28-year-old East Atlanta rapper named JID, who, on the confidence of his debut album DiCaprio 2, going #1 on the rap and R&B iTunes charts in the US, made a declaration that has sparked banter. The challenge was said Tuesday, November 27th, in an interview with Complex, but a day out from the release of his debut studio album, which dropped that Monday, November 26th. That's what needs to be known. Dreamville, we gotta step this shit the fuck up, cause them is fire. I don't even know any entities that I fuck with, but I fuck with TDE, he said in the interview. Out of outright respect for the stronghold TDE has had in the game, thinking any label, let alone a bunch of underground talents, could upset this reign seems unlikely, but Dreamville's newest signee, JID, thinks just that. They're both formidable labels and they're both respectably run. They present different sounds, but are both masters at what they do. They both have frontrunners who are arguably the best at their craft, and both have had chart and tour success. Who's to say Dreamville is out of the race? On the Dreamville team, we're looking at J. Cole, JID, Bass, Cozz, Earth Gang, Omen, Loot, and Ari Lennox. On the TDE side, we've got Kendrick Lamar, Schoolboy Q, J-Rock, SZA, Ab-Soul, Isaiah Rashad, Sir, Lance Skywalker, and the recent signed Reason. That seems pretty even to me. Up until J. Cole signed a distribution deal with Interscope in 2014, Dreamville was not a label. It was a concept turned brand, turned organization, that eventually got its wings to resource artists once the ink was dry. Now, J. Cole, a rapper from Fayetteville, North Carolina, owns a label that's not only in the conversation of the hottest rosters in hip-hop, but arguably a more accomplished brand than Top Dawg and his TDE label too. Ibrahim Hamid, Cole's manager, is the president of Dreamville Records, and also J. Cole's close friend, who he schooled with in St. John's University. It shows that they're a tight-knit group, which translates to the music. It's clear these acts were hand-selected by Cole, which makes it even more interesting when they're matched up against Kendrick and company. TDE has had a chokehold in the game ever since the ever-ambitious and soundly calculated label from the West Coast was founded in 2004 by Anthony Tiffith, better known as Top Dawg. This year, Kendrick Lamar produced the soundtrack to the summer blockbuster Black Panther, which hit #1 spot on the Billboard 200 list, making it the first soundtrack to top the Billboard list in 3 years. And in 2017, Kendrick Lamar and SZA frequented the Billboards with their respective albums, both Damn and Control dominating the airwaves. But I think JID has a point. See, there are similarities. When placed side by side, does one even stand out more than the other? If we're judging by this year alone, J. Cole has the edge simply off output. Let's just say you didn't enjoy his 5th studio album, KOD, which sold 397,000 units in its first week, earning him his 5th #1 album. He's killed every feature he's been on this year. His verse on My Boy on Wale's Free Lunch EP is still talked about, and it's almost Christmas. His verse on Pablo Boat for Royce da 5'9's Book of Ryan was a face melter, and his collab with Black's Pretty Little Fears was one of the year's most pleasant surprises. Not to mention he's bodied a host of other countless features this year too. Kendrick hasn't been as available. Having not released a solo album this year, the production we have from him includes feats on the Creed 2 soundtrack and the Black Panther soundtrack. Kendrick is definitely gonna get his time again, but just not this year. Bass vs. Schoolboy Q is an interesting one. Again, while Q might be respected with hits like Man of the Year, doing better than anything Bass has ever put out, he hasn't released anything since 2016's Blank Face, and hasn't been on many features either. Meanwhile, since Bass's 2016 sophomore LP, Too High to Riot, which peaked at #49 on the Billboard 200 chart, he's released a 3rd studio album, Milky Way, earlier in August this year, which was well received as well. I'd give this one a Q if he would have at least put out some content, but the void gives Bass the upper hand here, 2-0, Dreamville. Cozz vs. Ab-Soul. Can you believe it's going to be 5 years since the last release of Ab-Soul's Do What Thou Wilt? The 2016 Spiral of Spiritual Musings was okay at best, but it's hard to put that over Cozz's Nothing Personal, which also came out in 2016, or his debut studio album Affected, which dropped in February of this year. Affected gave us another Kendrick verse with Hustler's Story, and provided LA sounds that Ab-Soul had failed to give us in silence. I have to side Cozz on this one as well. 3-0, Dreamville. Ari Lennox and SZA. TDE just might have an edge on this matchup. Although released last year, SZA's Control simply cannot be understated. The album sold 60,000 copies its first week of availability, exceeding predictions of only 45,000. It also earned SZA the title of the most nominated woman in the 2018 Grammys, with 5 different nominations. Standout tracks such as Love Galore and The Weeknd was on every radio station around the world, giving her platinum status. SZA is also everywhere, SNL, Gap, you name it. She boosted R&B and elevated TDE status while being the only woman on the label. Ari Lennox, on the other hand, has not had her moment yet. The Dreamville's First Lady's last body of work came in 2016 with her 7-track LP, Pho. Since she's released the single Whipped Cream, which came out this year, as well as Shea Butter Baby, which was featured on this year's Creed 2 soundtrack, Ari has had a great sound and definite star power, but she's not touching SZA just yet. Finally, TDE is on the board, 3-1. JID vs. J-Rock. JID talks a big game, and his debut album is actually really good, but J-Rock's Redemption is arguably the album of the year. The 31-year-old Watts, California native, was the first to sign with TDE and has proven his OG status with his debut studio effort. With singles Win and King's Dead, it's clear J-Rock is in his prime and in his bag, in a way JID has not quite gotten to. Redemption is one of the most complete albums of this year, with hardly any skippable songs. JID's DiCaprio 2 still has something to prove. Dreamville is still up, 3-2 on the board. Omen vs. Isaiah Rashad. The last thing Omen released was on a Dreamville collaborative effort, Revenge of the Dreamers 2, which came out in 2015. His debut studio album, Elephant Eyes, was also released in 2015, but there hasn't been much production from him otherwise. On the other hand, Isaiah Rashad's The Sun's Tirade, though released in 2016, because of the response, easily got him this round. More people are looking for Isaiah Rashad given his absence, not Omen, but that may change. 3-3. It's a tie. See, it looks to me like JID is right. Sir may edge out Earth Gang, but Loot beats out Lance Skywalker. They have a real chance to put their feet down and take a hold of the game, and JID has every right to champion that. This has been a Hip Hop Madness original. Make sure to stay tuned and stay up to date on everything we got going on by hitting that subscribe button and notification bell. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Hip Hop Madness and join the movement.